Okay, basic things about Airbnb. I'll give you all this, by the way, in the notes at the end. So if in case you miss one of these points, don't worry. You'll get them so you can in your notes. Number one, it requires a membership. It is not like any other type of reservation service where you go in and you just create a general, ID and a credit card. No, you have to actually have a profile. Which is a membership, you could call it. The membership is free, so it doesn't cost anything to join Airbnb. You do need to create a profile when you go in there. It has to be a real profile. They'll check on you. You're not always going to be accepted if you reserve a place. I've never not been accepted, and I've rarely heard of people that are not accepted. But my wife once put in for a reservation for Airbnb, and she they didn't have an availability. They'd forgotten to mark their calendar out. That's the kind of thing that I've heard of. But I suppose if you're a real bad guest, people could choose not to rent to you. Honest reviews are at the heart of Airbnb. So whereas in the American online or the worldwide online retail system where there's always reviews of everything or reviews of experiences or whatever, we sometimes wonder, is that real? Is that fake? You can send out 500 free copies of your book on Amazon and tell people that, or ask them to write a review. That's one thing. But at Airbnb, honest reviews really are at the heart of it. In other words, you have to be truthful about what place you stay in, and host should be truthful about you. There is an order to that. So the host reviews you first. The guest gets the last word. So that's the way, if there's a conflict, that the guest isn't stuck with a bad review of a host. There is mediation available when there's a conflict. I've never needed it. Haven't always stayed with the greatest hosts. Maybe one wasn't the greatest host, but I've always had good experiences. Never needed mediation. As in everything with travel, everything, know your risks. So check the host reviews. If you are choosing to stay somewhere and you're the very first guest, know that. If you're staying somewhere and your guest is a super host, we'll talk about that. Hey, your risk is pretty low. Also, look at the cancellation policy and the total cost, and we'll examine that in a little more detail because Airbnb has become a little less transparent, in my opinion, about its total costs. There are other costs besides the per night room rate. There's the service fees, there's cleaning costs, there's taxes and surcharges that are out of the hands of the host. So they can add up. And as we look at reservations, we'll see that. And I really welcome you share any experience you may have had, Susan, with it that bears on this. What are the advantages of Airbnb? Number one, you get to stay in a local's home. I'm a big one when I talk about slow travel, about telling people, hey, if you can get to know a local, that is the best thing. Locals give you good advice. They give you recommendations. They tell you where to go to be safe. They give you tips that you may not know. They help you out. They help you navigate culture or language or something like that. So you get to stay in a local's host, and you have a home, and you get to have a host. I've had hosts everywhere from a person that was living in the same apartment with me, like I had one of their rooms, to a host that was living, a couple houses or a mile away, and I was just renting out a place that they owned. A wide range of experiences, but you always have a host, and the host's job is to take care of you. Not unlike in a hotel, when you go down to the front desk and you say, hey, there's no hot water in my room, or hey, can I get some extra towels? Or you go to the concierge desk and say, hey, can you recommend a good place to eat? A host can do all those kinds of things for you. In all my experiences with Airbnb, I've never felt unsafe. I know it's a question often asked. Women especially ask it. I understand that women feel differently than men do in safety, but I often travel with my wife or family. None of us have ever felt unsafe in a place. If there was any question about whether we'd feel safe, I would have not chosen it. That's always something I look for. Also, another advantage is you can get people called super hosts. They're hosts that have high ratings and have hosted people a lot. I recommend that you look for them. Their profile has a little badge, and we'll see that, super host. That adds an extra layer of confidence to you when you're looking at a place to stay. So I really like, and that has to be through honest reviews. That can't be, I don't know that you can game the system on being a super host. So that's one thing to look out for, and is really nice. Things to watch out for when you're doing Airbnb. You want to make sure you pay attention to which floor the room or apartment is located. Once my wife and I didn't do that. We found ourselves on the fifth floor of an apartment in Germany. And remember, that is not 5 floors up, that's 6 floors up, because in Europe, the ground floor is the place you walk into, and then the one floor up is the first floor. We're like, oh, I don't think we noticed that this is on the fifth floor. Well, we had a long ways to walk up to carry bags. Just one thing to pay attention to. If you're looking for accessibility, maybe you want to get in, maybe a person can't do stairs, they need a walker, or they just have a hard time getting up and down. Look for those kinds of things. You can even filter for that when you're choosing an Airbnb. Look out for whether or not you have a full use or you're sharing the space. And you can filter for that very easily. And it'll usually say it's a room in a house. It is an apartment. You have the whole house to yourself, whatever. That's what you're looking for. And it'll tell you that right off the bat, right off the top. Next thing you want to know is how accessible it is. I mentioned that already. And by the way, accessibility can be more than just like whether a person has special needs. It might be like my wife and I are renting an Airbnb in Guanajuato, which is a very steep city in Mexico. And I noticed that one of the reviews said there's a long, steep walk up to get to the front door. So even though I'm healthy and can climb stairs, that's a good thing to know. And the other thing to watch out for is extra fees. And as we look at some reservations, you'll see those. And that really varies. So, for example, in the city of Harrisonburg, which is just about 150 feet above me up the hill is the city line. I live in the county. In the city, Airbnbs are regulated. You have to get city council approval to have an Airbnb. You have to pay occupation, you have to pay the same occupancy taxes that a hotel pays. So that way Airbnb can't compete with hotels unfairly. And by the way, they have to get approved. So there have been places where neighbors said, we don't want an Airbnb there. It's a lot of people coming and going. This is a very quiet residential street. We don't like that. But sometimes there are places in the world where they don't charge those occupancy taxes. So there's no extra cost there. Also, and that can be up to 10% or more. And also some hosts charge more for cleaning than others do. And that cleaning fee can be a per occupancy cleaning fee. Like people come and stay 5 days, there's a cleaning fee. People stay 3 weeks, there's one cleaning fee, or one night.